Brain has really been wrapping itself around this split experiment theory where the light is projected through these slits, and only when viewed does it actually split into two and into particles. But when it's not viewed, it acts as a wave through the slits and creates many kind of slits on the background of the wall behind it. And I know that it may sound confusing to some, but the idea that I'm sitting in by hearing this split experiment is in regards to the power of the observer, the power of what we are projecting through our eyes. As we do not see with our eyes, we project. And so if we are projecting it based on the thoughts, which are our perceptions on reality, are we creating the reality with our perceptions of it all? And I'm beginning to think, yes, we do. And if we once sat at a level of awareness that I always described as being inside of a box that we put ourselves in, then now as we've had the courage to step out of that box and expand and have the capacity to perceive it in a different way, we can then create a new reality with that perception, with a projection. And as we create that new projection, we allow others to quantum entangle with that reality. And it kind of brought me to this whole understanding about the war and how everybody feels like they need to fight and they need to yell from the top of the mountain, and it can't happen, and this is what needs to change, and lots of people arguing back and forth, not seeing that they're actually falling back into the old level of awareness by battling each other, when essentially you're battling yourself because you're projecting the experience. Which may seem confusing, but if you sit in it and re-listen to what I just said, you're creating your reality with the projection coming through you and for you based on your perception and or level of awareness per se. You know, it had me thinking about a movie that I watched the other day. It was called Leave the World Behind. And I don't really watch a lot of movies anymore, but when I'm called to, watch something, I do. I allow that divine action to work through me by surrendering. And I knew there was something there for me, and as I'm projecting it all, right? And the interesting thing about that movie was some of the key symbolisms that I was aware of beyond the movie itself was the name of the white lion on the ship, was the amount of deer in that movie, and was the pink flamingos that flew into the pool near the end of the movie. Now, from one level of awareness, you could perceive a lot of the symbols that it was showing you through this movie and sit in the old perception of being inside that box where, the elites are doing something to you. And I remember I was just watching a post by a guy, and everybody in the comments talking about this movie was, the elites and the ship of back in the 1619, I believe, where they brought in slaves to Virginia. It was called the White Lion and the White Teslas, and there was so much symbolism that they were seeing that I wasn't. And why was that? Why was I perceiving it in a different way? Why were they perceiving it in one, and how was that making them feel? And were they aware of how they were feeling based on their perception? I don't think they were. And do they have the chance to expand into a new level of awareness? Because when I watched it, I left the movie feeling excited. I saw the messages. I saw the white lion. I saw the deer. I saw the pink flamingos. I saw the pink flamingos, to me, are balance, the union within, the balance of our energy. You know, the deer is, and the white lion is the spiritual enlightenment and God taking care of its children. And again, that word God, whatever word you want to use for the energy, and in regards to children, I like to use fractals. You know, it's however you want to perceive it. But it's interesting that my perception has me sitting in such a different place viewing that movie, what I'm projecting, right? And as they are quantum entangled in it, they're quantum entangled in a different way, through a different perception. As we are transitioning in consciousness, which I said before, we are almost projecting 3 different levels of awareness and getting to decide which is which. 3 being the old level, 5 being the new, and the 4 being the transition of the 2. And so, how do you want to perceive things? And it's a choice that we now have, because we are no longer sitting in separation and duality, which was the understanding or the forgetting who we truly were, which is the great creator. And, you know, we get into this concept of the one world government and one world and the elites again and the wars and all these things being done to us, and everybody bickering back and forth and lowering their vibration, not realizing that in the higher vibrational states, in the more expanded view, we can create what we want at will with our powerful thoughts and beliefs, and we could change things in a thought. And that to me is so much more exciting, right? There's a hand signal that a lot of people put up, and I believe it's how do they do that now? They put the middle finger and the thumb, right? Sorry, and it kind of looks like devil horns, right? I think that's what they call it. But when you perceive it one way and the elites are out to get you, and you see that as devil horns, but when you kind of peel back that story and you understand that even the name Lucifer was added to the New Testament because a bishop and a Christian priest were in a political war, and the bishop added the name Lucifer to the Bible, the New Testament, and the name of the Christian priest was Lucifer, and the story was added to kind of diminish and to demonize that name or that person in the political war, when really it just means the morning star or the light bearer, which is Venus, which is the planet of love. Right, and the whole devil aspect of things, again, it's a word that was kind of misunderstood and added to a situation, kind of quantum entangled, because the word was shaitan, right, which never meant an entity, right? It was an energy, which is, to me, that ego level of awareness, right? It's all one energy. It's all this beautiful dance leading us to a place which is literally where we're moving into, which is the next golden age, the planet of love, the planet of Venus, the planet of the new earth. And we wouldn't be able to get to that space without the darkness that we needed to experience, the separation of self, right? And that hand gesture that I just showed, it's a mudra. It's a mudra for the third eye, right? The symbol that they show like this all over the news with the elites again and the Illuminati. Again, it's a symbol of creation, a mudra for the third eye. And what do you do with the third eye? You create with your thoughts. And were they showing it to us the whole time, but we were perceiving it in a way of separation and duality? We were perceiving it in a negative way, like they know something that we don't, and if they do, then why weren't we paying attention? We didn't have the capacity to understand, that's why. And so now we do have the capacity to understand. Now we do have the capacity to hold the same mudras, the electrical circuits, right? We have the capacity to hold the same mudras, to create at will, and no longer look in judgment or look in envy. Be the great creator that you are, and allow the new perception to come through you, the new projection to come through you with the power of your thoughts. It's so much different. We look at the Masons and the Rosicrucians and all these different, cults that we called them. Well, really, they were just keeping an ember burning of truth, a very great truth. And was it infiltrated by the ego energy, the Satan, the devil, the Lucifer? Was it infiltrated by that energy? It was, but it was our energy. It was the energy. It was a needed part to the process. But if we miss what they were trying to keep alive, we will no longer get to sit in that position of being the great creator. So it's time to hold that mudra, understand what these are, understand what these symbols really mean. When you look at the back of the dollar bill and you see that triangle, the mind, body, and spirit, and you see the eye in the middle, the third eye, the place that you can create. When you see the light coming off of that pyramid, it's the crown, the connecting back to God, source. There's so many levels to this awareness, and even the understanding that you think you need to connect to God through the pineal gland, it's still misrepresented in a sense, because all of this is God, consciousness, the one energy, mind, body, spirit, everything, all your thoughts. It was always consciousness. So I empower you now. Look into those mudras. Look into the understanding of how powerful your thoughts are. And if you're still sitting in these old levels of awareness in your subconscious ways of thinking, maybe it's time to reprogram those subconscious ways of thinking. Go in and sit in the theta frequency. There's a lot of information out there about it if you want to look for it. It's not like I'm saying anything new. Theta frequency, sit in that and create what you want to create. Take any of those thoughts that come up and surface in that time and reprogram those thoughts. I used to think about the way I talked about the consciousness being this tube or thread, this tubular experience, and we're all a thread in the tapestry of consciousness. And I used to think that, at one level of awareness, we're on that treadmill inside that tube, and we could only really create from within that tube. But that tube is only represented by the way we perceive things, or the expansion of where we truly sit, the level of awareness. Because at any point, as you expand, so does the tube. So does your ability to create. Make sense? As you expand to understand who you truly are, and the tube expands as well. You become all the tubes. Right? So there is no constraint to what you can truly create. Can you sit in that? And yes, you can. Yes, you can. So go download some theta frequency. Any of those thoughts that are surfacing that say otherwise, or have these, resistance, or give those love and focus on the new creation. And let's create the new world together. I love you very much. Have a beautiful day.